Hi, Tyler at Infidelity here. Today we're going to talk about a very interesting headphone. This is the new MrSpeakers Ether Flow C or Ether C Flow headphone. This is a $1,800 headphone, maybe a little more depending on the cables that you decide to purchase. This is a sealed, full-size sealed headphone. It's very, very well made. I really enjoy MrSpeakers headphone construction quality. Nitinol headbands, a nice leather strap, good adjustability, carbon fiber caps for the outsides of the headphone. This has a nice cable. He calls it a dumb DUM cable, distinctly unmagical. Sort of a little joke, I guess you could say, about headphone cables and their worthiness. In other words, he puts a good cable on here. It's good enough, definitely good enough for normal use. But you can certainly add cables, aftermarket cables, if you want a little more pizzazz and, as some people might claim, a little bit better performance. I haven't found that to be necessarily the case myself. I think I've heard cables improve headphones sometimes, but at any rate, this is a really nice cable. It's got really cool snap-on, snap-off connectors on here. Good stuff. Comes also with a carrying case. This is the hard-sided carrying case for the headphone. It's actually a very, very well constructed case, nice and sturdy, definitely kind of fugly, but it'll suit the purpose very, very well. The difference between this headphone and the previous Ether C is that this headphone has what MrSpeakers called true flow baffles that intend to reduce the turbulence around the driver, and I've found when going from the Ether to the Ether Flow, the open version of these headphones, that baffle, the true flow baffle, does indeed do a great job in smoothing out the sound and making it sound more coherent and refined. With the Ether C Flow, with the closed headphones, here's the original Ether C and the new Ether C Flow. So this is the Flow and this is the Ether C, and you can see that the weave on the carbon fiber is just a little bit finer on the Ether C Flow than it is on the Ether C. So that's the easy way to identify them from the outside, is that the old version, the carbon fiber has a bit looser weave, a bit larger weave than the Ether C Flow. The sound quality of this headphone is quite good for a sealed headphone. It is definitely, I would say it's the most neutral closed headphone that I've heard, and that's a very, very hard thing to accomplish. Sealed headphones, as headphone audiophiles will tell you, have never performed as well as open headphones. They tend to be more uneven, less liquid and coherent and nuanced. They tend to have tonal imbalances and resonances, and so it's very hard to make a closed headphone. In measurements and to my ears, the Ether C Flow is astonishingly neutral, really. It does match quite closely the Harman target response curve. If you go to the article at infidelity.com that's linked below this video on YouTube, you can see a graph that shows how close the response is of this headphone to the Harman target response and a couple other reference curves that I have. And suffice it to say, it's quite close. So tonally, this is a very, very good closed headphone. I would say the other one that comes close is the Audio-Technica ATH M50X and the NAD Viso HP50, both of which are also quite close to neutral. And much less expensive, but at any rate, this headphone does come quite close to that neutral target. The problem with this headphone is it does have a little bit of extra energy between 5 and 6K, and that area in the mid-treble can be quite disturbing. For example, the Sennheiser HD800 has a little spike there, and it's been known for a long time by headphone audiophiles that is quite a disturbing response. This headphone, that peak is not as prominent as the HD800S, but it's still there, and it still can be a little bit piercing when listening to it. And I would say this is a small problem, but it is a problem. I definitely do get annoyed by that peak in response after a while of listening to this headphone. I would also say its overall treble is just a little bit elevated, and I would call this headphone mildly bright. But it's so close it's hard to tell that that's really where the problem is. I would say that there also may be a little bit more distortion in this headphone than others. It does measure to have a little bit more distortion than I'd like to see. It doesn't exceed 1% at 90 dB SPL at the ear, but it gets close to 1%, and that is on the verge of being what most people consider being audible. I would say sometimes it has a slightly hard sound to it. So overall, and then the other aspect of its response relative to open headphones that have a good response is that this headphone seems a little rougher sounding, doesn't have quite that liquidity and coherent nuanced sound throughout its range. It just doesn't quite hold together as well as an open headphone. So the problem I have with this headphone then becomes, this is an $1,800 headphone. For this price, at this price, I would expect as an audiophile headphone purchaser a degree of nuanced character that it kind of just doesn't have. And that's disappointing. I don't really blame MrSpeakers for this. In a lot of, as I said, in a lot of ways, this is an outstanding sealed headphone, one of the best I've heard. I would characterize it more as a problem with sealed headphones in general for audiophiles. That as you go up in the price ranges, the ability for a sealed headphone to deliver the kind of performance at those kind of that you would expect at those prices is just apparently not there yet. So my suggestion to most headphone audiophiles would be to buy something like an Audio-Technica ATH M50X, which is a $150 headphone, and 95% as good as this headphone in my opinion. It's an absolutely terrific little sealed headphone. And then save your money to spend on an open version. For example, the Ether Flow open headphone is truly an excellent world-class headphone, as is the Focal Alir, which is a $1,000 headphone. So that's really the problem I have with this headphone is given its price, it just doesn't deliver the kind of audiophile performance that I'd like to see. Now, on the other hand, audio professionals who are in need of a sealed headphone that has enough neutrality to work with, I definitely think this headphone does have that. As I said, it's astonishingly neutral, really, and I think audio pros would be well served by this if they're in need of a sealed headphone. None of the other upscale sealed headphones I've heard, the Audeze LCD XC, for example, I think this is a much better headphone than that. Same with the EL8 closed. I think this is a much better headphone than that. So for pros looking for the best sealed headphone they can get their hands on, this certainly might be the right headphone for you. If you're a headphone audiophile and you want to spend big bucks on a sealed headphone, I would say this is the headphone to go with, but I really question whether the premium that you're paying is really getting you the kind of sound quality that you want. So I like the headphone. I like the headphone very much. It's not going to go up on the Wall of Fame. I found the older Ether C not flow headphone, just the regular Ether C, while it doesn't have enough bass, it's a smoother sound, and if you're going to use some EQ, I think it can sound better than this headphone. For those of you who are looking at upgrades, the Ether and the Ether C can be upgraded to the new Flow baffles. I would say if you have an Ether, going to the Ether Flow, that's well worthwhile. That is a pretty dramatic improvement. But I think going from the Ether C to the Ether C Flow is kind of a side grade. If you're willing to use EQ, I would say stick with the Ether C. If you don't want to use the EQ, it may be worthwhile going to the Ether C Flow for its for its better neutrality. Ether C Flow at $1,800, very interesting headphone. I would recommend it if you've heard all of this and say, no, I'm still looking for a headphone like that. This is a good purchase, and I can't think of a better one. But my takeaway point, the thing that I think I learned most from the experience of using this headphone, is that closed headphones for headphone audiophiles really aren't where we need them to be satisfied with them, and you're probably better off not even making the big leap. You're probably better off going with a much less expensive sealed headphone and just accept the fact that you're not going to get the kind of audiophile qualities you're used to in an open headphone. All right, I hope you get a chance to listen one soon. It is a very interesting and headphone, certainly educational in terms of hearing the something that's very close to the Harman target response curve, and I did like what I hear in terms of its tonality. But you'll have to check it out for yourself to see if it's right up your alley or not. And I hope you get to hear one soon, and we'll see you guys the next time.